What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and we are here with DC KO! And in this instance, we're focusing on Knightfight. So, for those of you guys who are just joining us, basically Batman's on his own mission outside of the DC KO tournament, his crazy circumstance. The benefit here is that we actually kind of get the gaps filled in pretty quickly, because it opens up and it says, I've lived in Gotham all my life, but I have never seen it like this. Damian tells me how it came to be, the hardships, the wars, the difficult truth about how I died, what happened to the Joker, how Damian stayed in school while training, and eventually became a doctor like my father, used his mind and resources to change the city. But this is more than a fresh coat of paint over its bleeding wounds. He healed the city to the point that it no longer needs a Batman. I know this is all just an alternate future constructed by the Heart of Apokolips to test me, to make me face my fears before it will return me to the tournament. But to be honest, I'm not sure that I want to go home. And he says, I always plan for every possible outcome. I look at all the angles. I strategize to make sure I always win. But I did not plan for this. I never thought I would get to have this kind of life, to be a grandpa. Now, to kind of fill you guys in, right, those of you guys who are joining us for the first time here, yes, you guys probably know about the main DC KO event, right, the big tournament going on to decide who's going to be the new King Omega, the person who's basically wielding the power that will allow them to face off against Darkseid. For Batman, he seemingly figured out pretty fast that while he could make it through the tournament, his efforts would best be suited elsewhere, right, getting back to the city of Gotham and figuring out a way to try to defeat Darkseid from the other side, regardless of what it is that happens in the tournament. Such as it was, where he did have a kind of teleportation device, when he died, he tried to escape. And that's where the Heart of Apokolips threw him into this place, which is, to some degree, a living nightmare. And there were a few different realities that Batman was forced to endure, right? Dick Grayson basically becoming Batman to replace him, the fact that Dick Grayson was never really able to move on with his own life, and in fact the Bat family kind of continued on in the absence of Bruce, his torment over Bruce's death and being unable to solve the mystery, right? And the fact that Gotham was no longer habitable and Jason Todd was the only person there. In each of these instances, it was kind of Batman's worst fear, which is that no one ever moved on, that Gotham never became better despite his best efforts. This is completely shifted because it's one of these things where the Heart of Apokolips tries to turn it all on its head. And that's where he, of course, ends up meeting Alfie, the son of Damian Wayne. Now, of course, he met him at the very end of the last issue, but now he's actually spending time with him. And he asked, right, how was kindergarten today? And Alfie says it was great. Well, we had show and tell, which, as anybody will tell you, show and tell was like the best part of kindergarten. And honestly, I wish it continued all the way through into middle school and high school, because I feel like that would have been amazing. But Alfie also says, I wanted to bring a batarang from the museum, but the teachers wouldn't let me. And Bruce is like, I mean, they're probably right. It is technically a deadly weapon. And so Alfie's just kind of like, but batarangs are so cool. Which they are. But then Bruce Wayne just says, when your dad gets back from his trip, maybe we can convince him to take you to target practice. And so Alfie asks him the question, do you miss being Batman? And Bruce kind of stutters for a second and doesn't really give an immediate answer. And then we kind of get this really cool monologue where he says, I don't want to lie to him, but whenever I close my eyes, the Heart of Apokolips speaks to me. And it says, remember, this future is not a gift, Batman. This is not the end of your story. You tried to cheat to win and must be punished for it. You do not get to just live here and be happy forever. You must fight. You must fight this world. Prove to me that you are worthy to return to the tournament, that you might be a champion worthy of becoming King Omega. If you do not, I will punish you, and I know how to hurt you and your heart. And so that's where Bruce says, right, the heart wants me to fight, but so does my son. Because at that point, Damian addresses him directly, and he says, I have searched the world and talked to all of our brightest minds, trying to find answers, a way to beat this Heart of Apokolips. A lot of people think we're foolish, that this reality is real, but I managed to convince the Justice Legion to let me borrow some forbidden technology. I know that we can find a way to protect our world while also helping you. Now that's a pretty interesting revelation right? The fact that there are some individuals out there who are exceedingly intelligent, but refuse to believe the fact that none of this is real. It's just one potential future being shown to Bruce Wayne that exists out there. Now, it is also important to recognize here, that's the power of the Heart of Apokolips, the ability to rewrite reality itself, to effectively become God, right? And so what the Heart of Apokolips here is doing is showing Batman these tangible futures that could exist, kind of tormenting him, showing him what the future could look like if it went terrible, but also showing him what it looked like if it could go beautifully. And so in a lot of ways, it's the allegory of Plato's cave, right? Those of you guys who don't know what that is, pretty simple here. Legion did a fantastic job of explaining it, so I'll use that example here, right? Imagine a cave where the people inside never see the outside world. Instead, they see shadows of that world projected on the cave wall. Now, the shadows are not real, but it's real to them. And if you were to take them out of the cave and show them the world as it truly is, they would reject it as incomprehensible. And that's kind of what you're looking at here to some degree. And so that's where Damian tells him, right? We have to play the heart's game as well if we're going to get you out of here. And so Bruce kind of muses and he says, the heart wants to manipulate me and is doing a good job of it. It warned me that it was going to punish my heart. And this is my heart right here in this room. Because it's Duke Thomas, right? Signal, Barbara Gordon. I mean, pretty much everybody who is a member of the Bat family or the extended Bat family. And so Bruce asked the question, right? Why are you all here? And he's told, you have to go back, Bruce. Damian told us the deal. To go back, to take out whoever stands in your way, and win the whole damn tournament. Then handle Darkseid. If you do that and get the powers, you can make our world real. That's what's at stake for everyone here. The families that they've built and the future they've made together. And that's where Damian says, so the heart wants you to take me down in a fight, right? You spent years teaching us. Do you think an old dog can learn some new tricks? Now, again, this is the heart tugging at him, because what it's showing him here is that these guys want to live. They want this future to come to fruition. But one of the things to keep in mind here is that seemingly this is all a reflection of Bruce. So I would go so far as to say that when he's told, you have to go back, you have to win the tournament, that you're going to save families, you can make this future real. That's really how Bruce feels. It's just the heart using that information, whether it's in his conscious mind or subconscious mind, against him. Right? That's kind of the danger in all of this. It's like Carl Jung said, right? If you don't learn to make the subconscious conscious, it will dominate your life and you will call it fate. And so that's kind of what this is, right? It's this idea that he has to get a hold on how he actually feels as a person. And so that's why he says, my son is right. He always is. This is how we win. I try to distance myself from them, try not to love them, to focus on the fight, on Darkseid, but it's impossible. I learn about their lives and they tell me the stories of tragedy and triumph. They are happy, but it did not come easy and it never does. Now, the irony of this whole statement here, and what's so great, is because arguably DC's been moving in the direction of taking Batman back, regressing him, right? Where he's losing trust in people more and more. This is the opposite of that. He loves this future and this family, these kind of flashing moments through his head of his life, both by himself and with them. And so he kind of continues on and he says, in the past, I could never work in the open like this. I had to be underground in the Batcave. Even the air here feels safer. This is the world that Damian built. I question if it's real or if it ever could be, and I must do something different to beat the heart. It wants me to compete. It wants me back in the tournament. But why? And that's when he realizes he's being watched by none other than Alfie, who we can all agree is just the most adorable character in this whole story, right? And he's like, I had you, right? And so, of course, that's where Bruce is like, you know, you did. Very, very close, right? You almost had me. I mean, Alfie never had him. He never had his car. But the fact is, right, Alfie just asks, what are you building? And Bruce just says, it's a gift for your dad. I call it a bat box, right? So the Batman equivalent of a mother box. Now, what's interesting about this is that seemingly it would give them the ability to leave this future and to show up in the real world. That's the nature of mother boxes, father boxes, boom tubes, that kind of thing. It allows people to jump from one place to another, and it can transcend realities and even different points in time. And so that's when Alfie tells him, Dad said that it's time. And so Bruce stops and he just says, Alfred, and he just kind of looks at him. And Alfie asks, right, why are you sad, Grandpa? And Bruce says, because I don't want to leave. This world has shown me that maybe I don't need to be Batman anymore. And that's where Alfie offers these incredible words of wisdom. And he says, but they need you to be Batman, Grandpa. And he asks, what are you talking about? And Alfie says, my dad and my aunts and uncles, they are who they are because of you. Don't you want to see them grow up too? And Bruce says, I guess I do. And Alfie just tells him, then go get him, Grandpa. And so that's kind of a cool thing because again, Bruce's subconscious seemingly talking here. And so that's when you switch over to Damian as Batman, and he looks amazing. This is clearly a throwback to the old, original Bob Kane, Bill Finger Batman suit. I mean, look at the ears and the cowl and everything, right? It looks like old school Batman to a degree, right? At least in the face. But Damian just kind of asks him, right? Are you ready to fight, old knight? Which is kind of the name that we need for Batman now. And Dick Grayson just says, right, be serious, Damian. And Barbara just says, don't forget what's at stake here. But the reality here is Bruce Wayne recognizes this. He says, we joke because we are nervous. And so Bruce just says, I've beaten you in a fight before, son. And so Damian just tells him, beating up a little kid is really something to brag about, right? And Bruce just says, yeah. But the little kid was a badass, so, his know-it-all attitude was his superpower. But you, he says, I don't think you have that edge anymore. And so Damian just says, only one way to find out. I love the fact that this is not like a fight to the death. It's not a fight of malice. They don't hate each other. It's a beautiful moment, right? It's really awesome how this unfolds. And these guys are going in on each other, and they're not holding anything back. And Bruce says that, right? Damian is one of the deadliest fighters to ever live. So there you go, right? Flowers to all you Damian Wayne fans out there. And he says, but I can see in his eyes, he does not want to win. And so Batman calls him out, right? Damian, you are holding back. And Damian says, so are you. And so Bruce just says, then fight me, son. And so they keep going, right? And Batman says, we fight like we've never fought before. I can see all the moves I taught him on display, but also the moves he's picked up since he became Batman. Our attacks are filled with rage, but not at each other. At the heart, the fight goes on for hours, and I hate it. But I am also in awe of him. I've never been prouder, and I owe it to him to give it my all, to all of them. And he says to never stop fighting, to cut loose in ways they have never seen. But I have learned the hard way that this time it's not my choice. Because when they're going back and forth, the whole time, the Heart of Apokolips is telling Batman, kill your son, right? This is what I want. You at your very best, angry and ready to become King Omega. But notice this, Damian's getting the upper hand on Bruce Wayne. And there's a credible argument to be made here as to whether Damian is actually a better fighter than Bruce. It's an age-old debate, right? Ever since Batman and Son, people have kind of been going back and forth. Who's a better fighter between the two? Because Damian Wayne was trained by the League of Assassins, and they are prodigious. And while Batman has been trained by a multitude of different people, it's Damian's training with the League combined with Batman's training that makes him so capable. And so Damian gets the upper hand here, and in turn, he just says, get up, right? Father, you have to. You must keep fighting. And he just says, I cannot do it, right? I cannot win. And in that moment, the heart says test complete and ends the whole reality, shuts the whole thing down, just says game over. And at that point, everybody starts vanishing. And so Damian calls out to Bruce, and Bruce just says, you know what to do, Damian, and then just disappears right into the heart. And he just says, damn you, right? You wanted me to lose. And the heart says, that was the final test, Batman, to see if you could ever admit defeat. If you hadn't, I would have destroyed that world anyway. You were never going to escape my punishment, but now you are nearly ready. All that is left is a leap of faith in Darkseid. The ability to defeat Darkseid and rewrite all of existence can be yours to make your family's world real. Are you ready to fight your allies, to show them no mercy, to cross the lines you promised you never would, to re-enter the tournament and become the King Omega? And so Batman just says, before, I questioned if I was still needed as Batman, if Gotham needed me, whether the city would be better off if my family took over. But now I know the truth. My family wants me to be Batman. They need me as much as I need them. At the same moment, Damian Wayne gets the ping, right, from the Batbox. So again, seemingly his teleportation device. And so Batman says, the heart thinks it's won, that it's defeated me. It forced me to fight against my family. But that's the thing that it didn't realize. It was not testing me, it was training me to win. Because Batman jumps into the Heart of Apokolips, right? He seemingly takes the power of King Omega and gets a whole new host of abilities, namely the ability to rewrite reality entirely, or at least that seems to be the case. But we'll find out in DC KO number 4. Honestly, I'm excited to see Batman fight absolute Batman. You know it's gonna happen, right? You know that's going to happen somehow or another. With that being said, guys, we're gonna bring this to an end. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, drop a like. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you all later. Peace.